Am I doing charity work because I'm really a good dude, or I want people to think I'm a good dude? Do you understand what I mean? Am I selfishly doing it to build my own image, to be that guy, or do I actually want to help people? Or really, do I not give a fuck? Do you know what I mean? And she was like, does it matter? She said, because the end result is a net positive.
I would say it does.
Does it matter?
Because I think the heart is the thing that matters in this.
But if you've got a good heart and you do fuck all for anyone, and I've got a bad heart and I change the community for better, who's the one? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like playing devil's advocate.
I
You
know
could
what
have
you're
the best
saying.
heart in the world, but you're inward, not outward.
Mm.
I might have 50% good heart and 50% trying to reach a certain position, status in life. But I'm making very positive changes to people around me to get there. You're doing nothing to people around you, but you're living peacefully in your own heart.
I think, and I don't want to get too much into it because I don't know too much about it. But in moral philosophy, there's this idea of how do you determine something as being good? Is it the thing itself? Is it your posture towards the thing, or is it the consequences of that thing being done? And you can look at either of those three options and say, oh, it's a good thing because of the consequence of it, or because of the thing itself, or because of the posture. And obviously, you're arguing that it's a consequentialist perspective. Doesn't matter the motive, doesn't matter how it was done. The ends always justify the means, and it doesn't matter the place that that's coming from. Because you can say, we've saved this many people from starvation in this community by pouring the funds in, but we killed some people and illegally smuggled all these drugs and did all these horrible things, and we were evil people to get that outcome. And you have to, and it's an interesting dilemma because it's like, well, the good outcome has happened. And I don't want to take this conversation in a completely different direction,
No, no,
but
go.
we had a lot of human advancements from some of the experiments that the Nazis did on human beings because we, for very good reason, and God forbid we ever do this again, experimenting on human beings. But the Nazis did that to no end with people who are disabled, people who are outcast, people who are poor, and we all benefit from the medical breakthroughs as a result of the things that they did. Now, obviously, that's an extreme example,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to take the extreme example to show the logical end of the point that you're making. And so for me, when I look to that, I go, I don't think I can ever really no matter how good the ends are, I can't justify it with the means. And I think,
That's basing the means on a negative, though.
yes, and you're arguing that the means could be 50% positive, 50% negative, or selfish.
Or selfish more than negative.
Selfish rather than, so
Negative,
you're
yeah.
coming
So
from a
what I'm saying
selfish
is, I'm
place.
not necessarily doing harm to anyone,
Yes, yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm maybe getting 5 extra followers and 20 extra likes because I've posted about it when
Hmm.
I could have just done it and not posted about it. But I'm arguing that I'm posting to create awareness, so you're aware that this is going on in the world
I
and
see.
needs some
Yeah.
thought. Do you see what I mean? It was more from that perspective. I agree. I actually agree with you because doing the thing, but the bad thing gets you to the good thing is not doing the good thing, is it really? Because over here, you're.
Hmm.
It's like us driving electric vehicles, but we've got a load of kids mining battery, mining what the
Yeah,
cobalt,
sorry
whatever.
to burst everyone's bubble,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
electric vehicles aren't actually more
No,
sustainable than petrol cars.
no, and the same with these phones we're using. I didn't realize for years that these phones were mined the same way. The batteries in these phones. It's only
Hmm.
when Tesla came out and everyone started kicking off about it that you then thought, fuck, actually.
And this speaks to a really good conversation about when someone claims to be a good person. So, what do you mean by good? How are you defining good? Are you really a good person? Because everything that you've done is a result of slave labor.
Yeah,
Everything that we benefit from. It's like, are you a really good person? Because we like to think of ourselves as, but really, when you go right to the root, sin
but
is pervasive everywhere.
is anyone good?
No,
Is any human good?
only one man was good, and his name was Jesus Christ. Yeah,
Here we go.
seriously, like that's in a conversation like this, you have to go to the logical end. And I do believe no man's good. Every man
I'm actually
has a
surprised you said that.
has a state of sin within them. That we're born into sin, the Bible says. We are innately sinful, and that can be seen across everyone's actions through ill motives, through pride, through sins aren't necessarily the things that you do. It's just your entire state of being.
Hmm.
And those things are worked out of you And you can grow in those areas through God working through you. That helps me make sense of a lot of human behavior, why we do the things we do. We're naturally selfish, we're naturally stubborn, we're naturally prideful, all these things. And it's really, it is impossible to say you're a good person, because you have to say, what's the definition of good? Where if you don't have God to define what good is, then me kicking a dog, I could just say that's good because it's subjective.
Yeah.
And therefore you go, oh, what's the point of life? What's the meaning? You have that discussion.
You sound like Dumbledore when he says there's light and dark in all of us. Depends which path we choose.
Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the line of good and evil runs down the center of the human heart. It's part of us. It's part of our nature. It's got super philosophical very quickly.
It's a good argument. I've never thought of it like that, as in what are you defining good as? Because you're still defining it in comparison to maybe, yeah.
Good is a relative term.
Yeah.
Relative to what?
To what, yeah.
And if we're defining it, and there's no external definition of what that is.
What about if I told you it's better than it was?
How are you defining better? You're just changing the word. See what I mean? And this is part.
But it's never ending. That.
It is never ending, and because what the Bible says is good is perfection. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just trying to point out some of the.
No, I agree.
The challenges when you go to the end of the degree, the nth degree of what you're thinking, and this applies to many of the things we've spoken about in terms of going back to ancient philosophy to guide your life, about money and meaning and purpose, and some of the things that you've stepped into in more recent years, trying to be more reflective of, cool, I've chased the bag, I've got material success, I've got somewhat a level of status and influence, I've married, I've got stability, all these kind of things that you think you get to that stage, and then you spout out the other side and you're still wondering, have I just got 50 years and then